Hey everybody, welcome back to my quarantine memory book project using the paper pack by Photoplay, Living the Quarantine Life by Becky Moore. So after I finished my timelines, it's now time to do a little bit of arting in my little Dilutions book. So I grabbed this first cut apart. This is the stay-at-home cut apart. And what I'm doing is I'm using 4 pages in total. So the first thing I do is I put the journaling card, which is 3 by 4, down on the one page, get its dimensions, and then I put some double-sided sticky tape and flip it over onto the other side, go around that with my pencil and get the dimensions again, because what I want to do is cut a little bit of like a doorway so that you open the door and all you do is stay at home. So I'm going to start off here by blacking out the rest of the page. I'm basically just going around. I was being really careful here. I sort of didn't need to be so careful because I could have just stuck the journaling card onto the black page, the black paint on the page. So I was just being really careful. But later on, I will need to be careful because I need to know exactly where I need to cut the doors, the dimension of that page. So that looks really good there. The stay at home will pop out against the black of the page. I then go ahead and add the black onto the page that's going to get cut out. So this will be the door page. It's easier to do it without the cutout. That way it's just one sturdy page instead of, flimsy little pieces. So I go ahead and get that side painted first. And then I bring in my cutting mat and I'm just going to cut 3 sections of this paper so that it's a door that opens, I guess, outwards. I use my ruler here just to bend or score the paper so that the door can close, but that looks really good. And then what I end up doing is just checking to see that everything fits well so that when you open the door, all you see is the stay-at-home card. And I mean, that was the whole point. In all the doors, in all the homes, everyone was meant to be staying home. Went ahead here and added paint to that front page, even though I had already cut out the door, and it didn't matter whether you cut the door first or paint first. I did it both ways, and they were both simple enough to do. So after I dried the paint, I'm bringing in some of this Americana Ancient Gold, and kind of just putting it on the front, just kind of dabbing it there on the front of the door, just to give the door a little bit of extra definition. This is a very goldy door. And then I come in later on with a brad, and I add a brad to the front there so that the brad simulates the doorknob. Okay, so now it's time to add double-sided tape to the journaling card, and time to stick that card down. I did ink around the edges so that there was a good blend there. All right, so the card's down, looks good. When you open the door, the stay home is there. I then was trying to think of what we can do here. I've got some space at the top of the door and some space at the bottom. These were the most obvious choices that were sitting on my desk. They're a bit too obvious for me. So what I wanted to do was just use this Stay Safe paper. It's got a whole lot of terms to do with the whole pandemic. Wash your hands, keep your hands off your face, social distancing, panic buying, all these different phrases. So I thought it would be good to use it here because this was about the time that the stay-at-home order started. It was the time that the social distancing phenomenon began, and all the other, we had a few I guess hashtags to begin at this time. So I thought I would do two panels, one at the top of the door on the outside and one at the top of the door on the inside. Once again, I inked around the edges just so that it blended in with the background, and I stuck them down with double-sided tape. And then I decided to do the same thing with the bottom piece. So I love how the colors coordinate with the 3x4 journaling card. It looks really good. I then grabbed my inky pen and look at that splotch. A huge, huge splotch. I don't know how that happened, but you know what? I'm gonna go with it. It kind of, it didn't bother me. It was just like everything else that was happening at that time. Couldn't control it, so let's just go with it. Good way of coping. Thinking of what to do on the other side here, I thought that page was just not right. This plaid page was just way too busy. That orange page, once again, just looked too busy. So what I thought I would do is actually just do a little bit of a background, like my own background. So I've grabbed some gesso here, just putting some gesso down. As well as adding strength to the page. It sort of allows your paints to glide nicely and makes your paints vibrant as they don't soak into the page. So just add a little bit of gesso here. Also takes away the lines from the pages, which is good. I then thought of, grabbing something for focal image. Like I was going to make a background with my paints, but was thinking ahead to see what focal image I was going to use. And was still thinking at this stage, so decided to just go ahead and start with the paint. I thought I would grab the turquoise from the Dina Wakley paint line, and also some yellow from my own stash. I was looking at the color wheel and looked at just colors that were close by that would work really well together. So I decided to put some yellow down first. And then close by, I added some of that turquoise. And when yellow and turquoise mix, you get like a green color. I tried to not allow too much mixing because I sort of didn't want that color to show, but it's okay if it does. You'll notice here that I added just a little bit of gesso, and when you add gesso to whatever color, it lightens it up a bit. So I really liked that really light turquoise. Now you see how everything is really blocky here. I decided that I was being too methodical, so I swapped hands just to allow myself to be a little bit more messy than so symmetrical. Like you notice that everything is just always precise with my lines. So after those two colors go down, I'm sort of thinking about what I'm going to do with the focal image. So I sort of just play around here. I'm thinking of a page where, there's COVID on the outside and then you're safe at home on the inside without any COVID. That's the meaning behind this page, basically. Like home is safe and outside you've got all these nasties. So when I'm happy with that formation, I go ahead and put some orange down, looking for that dot stencil, and I couldn't find it, so I decided to just go for my Punchinella, which is about the same thing anyway, and I just add a little bit of the orange there in the middle. I love how that looks. So I also decided to put an orange bottom left-hand side there, and I absolutely love how that looks too. And then I decided to put my cluster of ephemera or elements down there in the corner. Okay, sorry, I forgot to press the camera there, but all you missed was me gluing in those die cuts, and then I used my arrow stencil to with the turquoise color just to point towards those elements. Now I love this Stay Positive element here, so I put that top right, and then just as a funny har, this is kind of my humor. I don't mean stay positive as in corona positive with that blood file at the top. I mean stay positive as in stay happy. And just because 3 is a magic number in art, I grabbed this third virus in the red, and just like that, totally love this page. Flipping over to the inside now, I've got this little sort of like lined paper die cut, and I'm just gonna start writing a little bit of notes here. So when did the stay home order start in Australia, and when did the hashtag social distancing or the phenomenon of social distancing start? Basically started around March, mid-March to late March. I'm going to put those details down. And then all that's left to do is just to fill in that empty spot at the top of the 3x4 journaling cards there. So I grabbed these banners and I put that flatten the curve down because that's about when it started, just that phenomenon of, how to flatten the curve. I like these three together, and I thought I would do like a page with them later on, so I didn't want to use any of them. I did like because we were talking about social distancing, I did like that stay 6 feet apart little banner, and I did like that heart, but I didn't want like the red cross, sort of the white cross in the middle. So I thought I liked the idea of the stay 6 feet apart with the two figures there. I sort of obscured the white cross, and then remember that little window that I cut out from the cover? I thought, oh, that looks good there. Why don't we put it there? Just like a layering element. So that cluster of three goes down at the bottom there and looks really good, and it covers up the empty spot. So there we go, you guys. That is one page done, one interactive element page done in my quarantine memory book. I hope it inspires you to make one of your own. I did want to say that if you have a look at the photos coming up now, you'll see that after I turned the camera off, I decided to do just a little bit of extra stenciling with my punchinella and a little bit of white gesso that I had left over on the side there. So you'll see some punchinella designs through on that page that had the journaling card, and then I put a little bit over on the other side where I had written some of the notes down, and then I kind of continued on to the front of the door. I'm not really sure if I like the extra stenciling on the door, but sometimes you just kind of do things and you realize later that you didn't like them. So you kind of learn from them. So I'm not really worried. Trying to have like a good attitude this year about just experimenting with things, not making any judgment, not letting things get to me, and just going with it and learning from my experiences. So thank you so much for joining me, you guys. I've got another one coming up next, really going on this whole theme of interactive pages in this little journal. So stay tuned for that one.